Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. And Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teen accounts.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump, quote, ready to unleash if Iran does not make a deal. Putting down the gauntlet, saying it is time for you to absolutely come to the table. We've bombed you into submission, and we're going to keep going until you agree to the terms that a civilized society should agree to. But there are a lot of reports tonight that Iran is saying, too bad, we're not accepting it. So if that is indeed the case of what's happening even behind the scenes, sometimes, of course, what you hear in front of the scenes is different. But if that is indeed what they're hearing behind the scenes, it's going to be a very bad Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and beyond for Iran. And everybody's also still talking about this that we talked about last night. Former CIA director under Obama, John Brennan, and his disgraceful comment that he said that he supports essentially and believes Iran more than President Trump. Who could forget this? Take a listen to what John Brennan said, and everybody's up in arms about this today.
I am confused how the president of the United States can credibly stand up there before the cameras under the wing of Air Force One and claim the conversations have been had that apparently haven't been had. And I'm also weary of taking the word of Iran. Like, they are an authoritarian regime who's known to lie. But, like, I'm confused. What is going on? Help me. Calm me down.
Well, I tend to believe Iran more than I do Donald Trump, because he could not acknowledge the truth even when it is, he's slapped in the face with it repeatedly. And it's clear that, he is flailing right now. He's trying to figure out how he's going to get out of this debacle that he has created. And so he's going to make these claims about negotiations, that the Iranians now are sending signals that they really want to make a deal, and indicates they're going to make a deal on our terms. I don't think anything close to the truth in that statement. They may be talking to people indirectly, and we know that the Turks and the Egyptians are trying to find some way to mediate this problem. So there could be some members, distant members of parliament that are out there that are speaking individually, but I don't believe there's anybody speaking authoritatively right now on behalf of the Iranian government with the Trump administration.
I don't believe the Trump administration. I believe the rogue terrorist regime. These people truly are nuts. It's the same people who are blocking funding for TSA and ICE, Department of Homeland Security. It's the same ones who essentially are saying that ICE are killers if they're sent to the airport. It's the same ones who are saying that ICE should be arrested if they show up and try to hasten and make the travel experience better for passengers. It truly is shocking and unbelievable. And here is Caroline Leavitt, by the way, talking about how President Trump yet once again is trying to see if Iran will come to the table. And this isn't the debacle Trump created. I would say by far it is, of course, the debacle and the disaster and the horrible policies of so many Democratic presidents, years upon years upon years, that brought us to this moment of appeasement where Iran was flush with cash, able to do a lot of things and menace so many people around the world, making America, quote, the big Satan, making Israel the little Satan. And I would say, thank goodness President Trump had the courage to take the strikes. And he will continue if they don't come to the table. He sent the 82nd is on the way. And many people are saying tonight, they believe it is probably to do something tied to the Strait of Hormuz so shipping can go through, or the other is Karg Island, where 92% of the crude oil goes through. So there's a lot going on there. Here is Caroline Leavitt talking about one more chance to come to the table or else.
The United States military continues to decimate the terrorist Iranian regime's offensive and defensive capabilities. Just over 3 weeks in, it's abundantly clear that Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding military triumph. More than 9,000 enemy targets have been struck to date. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile attacks and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 140 of their naval vessels, including almost 50 mine layers. This is the largest elimination of a navy over a 3-week period since World War II. Again, let me reiterate, this is the largest elimination of a navy on the face of the planet in a 3-week period since World War II. We are systematically dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent future threats to the region. Our military also remains laser focused on eliminating the regime's threat to the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. Over the weekend, we dropped several 5,000-pound bombs on an underground facility used to store equipment, including anti-ship cruise missiles and mobile missile launchers positioned along the coastline of the strait. Our military efforts grow more successful with each passing day, steadily degrading Iran's ability to terrorize merchant ships. For all of these reasons, we are very close to meeting the core objectives of Operation Epic Fury, and this military mission continues unabated. From the outset, President Trump and the Department of War estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve this critical mission. 25 days in, the greatest military the world has ever known is ahead of schedule and performing exceptionally. Day by day, the Iranian regime is being crippled, and their ability to threaten the United States and our allies is being significantly weakened. Their ambitions of building a nuclear weapon have also been crushed to an even greater degree than they were in Operation Midnight Hammer in June 2025. That's why you're beginning to see the regime look for an exit ramp. They recognize they are being crushed, their ability to attack American and ally forces, as well as their ability to defend their own territory is dwindling literally hour by hour. Following President Trump's powerful threat on Saturday evening, it was made clear to the United States that Iran wanted to talk. President Trump is willing to listen. As President Trump announced on Monday, the United States has been engaged over the last 3 days in productive conversations, which led the president to temporarily instruct the Department of War to postpone planned strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure only. The remaining elements of the Iranian regime have another opportunity to cooperate with President Trump, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and cease actively threatening America and our allies. But the president's preference is always peace. There does not need to be any more death and destruction. But if Iran fails to accept the reality of the current moment, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal.
But they are fanatics, and fanatics need to be pounded to the ground to submission. That's why I was telling you earlier, I love this line from a general saying that war is a test of wills, and you have to pound them into submission when you are dealing with fanatical, radical regimes. And I can't think of almost anybody more radical than the Islamist regime there in Iran. And by the way, speaking of crazy radical ideas, the Loyola student newspaper, and of course that's in Chicago, where this horrible story, this horrible murder took place, a freshman student, Sheridan Gorman. She was out with her friends, and remember, suddenly this guy, masked guy, comes upon them, and the masked guy is an illegal immigrant with a criminal past for shoplifting, shouldn't have been in this country to begin with, had a warrant out for his arrest. He had not appeared, roaming aimlessly, armed, and shot her suddenly in the back. And the student newspaper there should be embarrassed, 100% embarrassed. This is disgusting. The Loyola University Chicago newspaper, and we talk a lot on the show, you guys, about the indoctrination of young people. And maybe this encapsulates it. They had this horrific murder, random, so it seems by all accounts, in the middle, of the night there when she's out with her friends looking at the northern lights. And the newspaper originally labels this guy as an illegal immigrant charged with the crime. And then they fix the story and change it to say that the killer is a Rogers Park resident, like a nice resident in the community. Nothing to worry about there, right? God forbid we say he's an illegal immigrant. And they said they wanted to change it because they didn't want to further harm affected community members. So I guess if anybody in any community does a crime, you're not supposed to label them in that community. I'm sure it typically applies to illegal immigrants. And so here's one of their explanations. And this to me is appalling. And again, this is a sad testament to what is going on in so many colleges. So the newspaper writes, the body of the original post, we described the man who was charged as an illegal immigrant using language provided by the Department of Homeland Security. That language does not align with the Associated Press style, nor does it align with the values of this newspaper. So they took down the reference to illegal immigrant, saying, oh God, how sad, how terrible of us to call him an illegal immigrant. I'll call him an illegal criminal immigrant. This is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Alice in Ohio on line 2. Alice, your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your award. Being recognized by your peers says it all. And you carry on with grace as a lady consistently.
Alice,
when I grow up,
you.
I want to be like you.
Alice, and Alice, when I hit the age of 30, I want to be like you. Alice, thank you. First of all, thank you. It's my 11th Gracie. And by the way, I want to give a big shout out to our awesome executive producer, Matt Blaze, because Matt Blaze played a big role in the Gracie success. He rocks. You guys know him. We love him. I want to elect him for president, not just executive producer, but he played a huge role in making the story and our entry a huge success. He's the best. And I just love him, and I want to give him a big shout out. I know all of you guys love him too. But so it belongs to him as well. But it's definitely a great team effort here. So I'm lucky to have the best team ever. So thank you, Alice.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. I want to say Iran is a danger to the entire world. And President Trump has shown restraint and professionalism. He has been patient. It's about time to, as the press secretary said, send them to hell. Put them in the concrete head first. Take them to those 72 virgins, and we'll introduce the rest of them.
Exactly.
Get rid of them. Exactly. The harder, the better. Get rid of them. Cut off the head of the snake. They'll go out after everyone. They want to take over the world, Rita.
Yeah, and if anything, this just validates, I think, everything President Trump has said, because even after all this, they're essentially saying, go to heck, America and the rest of the world, and saying that, they're saying we want the bombing to stop. They've also just talked about a whole bunch of unrealistic series of demands that they, nobody would ever accept. And they're basically saying blank you. And, when you hear that from the devils incarnate, and they have, as we know, they do have missiles that will reach Europe. Who knows what else they have? I mean, they had it where it reached right near Diego Garcia. It was 2,500 miles from Iran. And that's at U.S.-UK base. So when you see all of that, the world's better wake up. And I think after that strike, by the way, Alice, now it seems like some, at least of Europe, are kind of waking up and realizing what an enormous threat the head of the snake, as you so aptly describe, is. So let's see where this goes. If nothing is resolved, Alice, I think Trump will be true to his word and something major will happen. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somewhere in that time frame. He will not wait, and it will be catastrophic for the Iranian regime. Maybe even more than the 40 that were taken out in 40 seconds at the beginning of all this. Alice, thank you very much. And thank you for the sweet words. So appreciated, Alice. Thank you very much. Everybody, we're going to continue after the break here on The Rita Cosby Show. 1-800-848-9222.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Faraday presenta Ojos con Alergia y Picazón contra el jardinero. Y el ganador es Faraday Extra Fuerte. Para aliviar la picazón de los ojos por alergia, actúa más rápido y supera a Claritin y Flonase aún a las 24 horas. Faraday, adelante.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, I am heated up tonight, certainly when I see some of the Democrats bashing ICE and bashing the United States by saying, oh, they believe Iran a lot more. It kind of fits with, remember, Hakeem Jeffries early on, who was saying that this will be another failed Mideast war, and the war had barely started at that time. It's disgusting. There are no limits, and it's really, I just think, so destructive to this country. They should be embarrassed. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Robert in Brooklyn, line 3. Go ahead, Robert.
Hi, Rita. Thanks for taking my call. Well, it's interesting. As of March 21st, in terms of the countries that were hit by Iran, missiles and drones, UAE 2220, over 2,000, Kuwait 860, Israel 820, Saudi Arabia 620. So those are the countries that took the brunt of it. The UAE especially took a lot, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait and Israel and Saudi Arabia. And these countries, not just Israel, but these countries don't peace. They're not rushing to a peace agreement because they really want an end to this regime. They want to cut off the head. Now you have countries like Turkey, countries like Pakistan, who don't really have an interest. We don't have the same interests as, and they're the ones who are pushing for some sort of a half-baked peace when the job is not finished. Not to mention all the Iranians who suffered. Now, I just want to bring your attention to something.
But do me a favor, Robert, because we have a break, I will carry you over. But you bring up a good point that, there's a lot of these folks out there that have different interests than us, the Pakistanis. Certainly, you look at India does too, and some of these others, Russia, China for sure. We're going to get into that and a whole bunch more. Robert, stick with us. Much more after the break, everybody.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by 7-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Wherever Bud goes, his harmonica goes with him. It's a pocket full of soul. Now he's living with prostate cancer. He asked his doctor about Xtandi and enzalutamide. Extandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Extandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Extandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Extandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Extandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Extandi.com.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And everybody, this Back the Blue segment coming from Montrose, Colorado, when police officer Tyler Cunningham, by the way, arrived at the scene of a structure fire. The flames were already devouring the rear side and the roof, and an older woman was trapped inside. Now, once he got on the scene, the officer sprang into action immediately. Kicking in the front door of the fourplex, he ran inside. He heard a woman screaming, frantically crying for help. She had mobility issues, and he was following the screams. He was then drawn to a bathroom in the residence. He located that woman and immediately got her outside to emergency medical services personnel. Thankfully, the emergency services reported, incredibly, that the woman was uninjured. The chief of the police said it was heroic. There is no question. Officer Cunningham did an outstanding job. He recognized the situation. He took immediate, decisive action, and he ended up saving her life. Bravo to our great men and women in blue. And we're going to get to Robert in a second. But first, I wanted to play this. This is Caroline Leavitt talking about the success of the Trump administration, citing how many different vessels and other things have been taken out in just a few short weeks. It is nothing short of miraculous.
Turning to the ongoing military operations in Iran, the United States military continues to decimate the terrorist Iranian regime's offensive and defensive capabilities. Just over 3 weeks in, it's abundantly clear that Operation Epic Fury has been a resounding military triumph. More than 9,000 enemy targets have been struck to date. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile attacks and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 140 of their naval vessels, including almost 50 mine layers. This is the largest elimination of a navy over a 3-week period since World War II. Again, let me reiterate, this is the largest elimination of a navy on the face of the planet in a 3-week period since World War II. We are systematically dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, which will prevent future threats to the region. Our military also remains laser focused on eliminating the regime's threat to the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz.
That's an amazing feat in such a short period of time, and more may be coming, because it sure sounds like Iran is saying, nope, we're not going to make a deal even now. And President Trump has the 82nd Airborne, those elite paratroopers that are the best of the best. Maybe they will be seizing Karg Island. Maybe they'll be doing some other things. They will clearly go into action if President Trump thinks they are needed to bring Iran to its knees. They've done a lot of damage, but maybe there's still a little bit more to hit. Clearly there is, if you look at Karg Island and elsewhere. And earlier today, we were talking with Jack Keane, General Jack Keane, former 4-star general, retired Fox News military analyst. I've known Jack a long time. And Jack was talking today about how he believes there's probably maybe even 2 or 3 weeks left of the war. Like, let's not rush this. His feeling was, look, they came out originally, the White House, saying it would be 4 to 6 weeks. So he's saying, okay, we might still have just a few more weeks. Let's finish the job. Don't leave with a few unanswered issues. Don't leave with so many in the regime still there, even though we took out a lot of them. Don't leave without the job fully completed. So you literally send Iran back into the Stone Age. You've come this far. Finish the job. I agree, by the way, with General Jack Keane. Meantime, also, you should hear this. I wanted to play this for you. There was actually a protest today against U.S. action in Iran, and it's called Hands Off Iran. It was near the City Hall in Philadelphia, and it actually featured a guy praising Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, all of these proxy groups from Iran, and he called for America to be brought to its knees. What a disgusting human being. Shouting, "May a Hamas rocket blow up your family's home." This guy's in America. Who is this person? Who is this person? We need to know, who is this person? Is he in this country illegally? Then if he doesn't love this country, get out. And also, is he working with the Iranian regime, one of the proxy groups? Get out too, or arrest him. So the rally was protesting the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran, and also essentially going after U.S. service members, saying for every U.S. soldier who comes back in a casket, we cheer. What a disgusting thing for somebody to say that in America. And all those spoiled brats out there who say, oh, we don't have First Amendment rights. This is a horrible, terrible regime. Can you imagine somebody saying that in Iran or in Gaza, something against the regime? They would last about 5 seconds. They'd probably last about 4 seconds before a lot of people open fire on them for having the audacity to say that. To say, can you imagine, for every Iranian soldier who comes back in a casket, we cheer. In Iran, one of the IRGC people would obliterate you and your family and the thousands standing around you if that were the case. But yet, here they are in America, and I think it's a disgrace. I'm sorry. This is not free speech. This is threatening. Threatening that every soldier who comes back in a casket, we're going to cheer. What a horrific thing. And I wanted to play this because I almost couldn't believe it, but it's true. Here it is. Here's some sound from that protest in Philly with these vile human beings shouting some of the most stunning things I think I've ever heard on American soil.
Until we have done everything in our power to bring the United States to its knees, let us not lose sight of the enemy. For every U.S. military base that crumbles, and for every U.S. soldier who returns home in a casket, we cheer! Hamas, Hezbollah, Ansarullah, all of the resistance forces we celebrate. These popular voices on the ground spend every waking moment in direct confrontation with Zionism, and they rely on a strong Iranian state to maintain their fighting capacity.
Do you hate America? May a Hamas rocket blow up your family's home.
May a Hamas rocket blow up your family's home. I mean, this is just, the whole thing is so disgusting. That's in Philadelphia near City Hall. I say get them out of this country at minimum. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Robert in Brooklyn. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry about the break. Go ahead. Thank you for holding.
Thanks. Well, as you just said, yeah, these people, they shouldn't be here. And a lot of them, if we can get them out, they should be deported. And the Congress should, if necessary, pass the necessary laws to get these enemy combatants out of our country. Now, as I was saying before, you know, the parties involved, if you took a lot of incoming missiles and drones like the UAE or Kuwait, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, your interest is not into some quick resolution that's not going to really uproot the problem. And also, we committed to the 32,000 or numerous thousands, tens of thousands of people who were killed protesting protesting that we were going to address, we're not going to let this stand, and to just replace it with another regime who's going to continue to terrorize and kill, murder their citizens is not an acceptable outcome.
So how do we, hey, Robert, hold on one second. How do we change that? Because I think that's a good point, because Netanyahu even came out, the prime minister of Israel, obviously, and he came out and said, you can't just replace Hitler with Himmler, you know, and almost exactly to your point. That's why I say to Jack Keane, what he was saying about you got to finish the job. He doesn't want Trump to pull out too early. He thinks, you know, you're right there. Keep going. You're almost at the breaking point for them. And that's why I agree with Jack Keane. You've come this far. You cannot just walk away, and then you have a mini Ayatollah still running that country, right, Robert? So how do you change it?
Well, you know, General Jack Keane, I heard him today, but I also heard him like a week and a half ago on Friday, and he pointed out that the Israelis are also, the Air Force is also hitting the besieged, which is the internal police, the regime police that brutalizes the people. So that's one thing. And also arming the people, the populace, giving them weapons so they can fight on their own, and restoring their internet is some ideas. Now, I just want to point something out. Alexis Wilkins, she came out with a thread, 13 tweets long, documenting that about the foreign influence operation in this country. It seems like she seemed to attribute it to Russia, and it included General Flynn, Tucker Carlson, Joe Kent, and Candace Owens. And, you know, General Flynn, there was a history with him with questionable lobbying for Turkey. And, you know, I'm very upset that I heard today that there was $1 million settlement that General Flynn got. Now, I understand that a lot of the people, Robert Mueller, they suffered greatly under him. But so on the one hand, but General Flynn, on the other hand, he might have some legitimate issues about how he was persecuted, but it's not so simple. He seems to be possibly part of a foreign influence operation.
Now, hang on one second, Robert, just because I know General Flynn. So here's my question. And I haven't talked to him in some time, but I did see that today, like you said. The question is, remember, it was a real big setup when he had his meeting with the Russian officials, remember? And then they went after him. I mean, it was just ridiculous. They were really trying to just go after him. I mean, yes, he clearly has had relations where he was over, remember, in Russia. Remember, he did that speech over there. And you're right, I think he did some lobbying from Turkey and should have listed it, but they clearly were targeting him and setting him up. So it would be interesting to know a little bit more. I haven't heard him in recent days, and maybe you know better than me. Yes, maybe he was lobbying for Turkey and did a speech over there, but I haven't seen what he has said. Do you know what he has said in just recent days or recent weeks about the bombing? Has he been supportive?
Well, Rita.
Wait, hold on. That's a yes or no. Has he been supportive of the bombing or not?
He seems to be going like a little bit moderate. He's hedging either way. His son is much more vitriolic against the war and against Israel. Also, some of the people that he associates with, like Tucker Carlson, Joe Kent, and Candace Owens, are very anti-Israel, very anti-Trump. But I just want to point something out. Alexis Wilkins, she, by the way, she's the girlfriend of Kash Patel. So exactly if there's any information that Alexis Wilkins is getting from Kash Patel, it's very possible. Obviously, you can't give a classified information if she doesn't have, clearance. But look, it's a big concern. We have to worry about what's going on in this country. And although MAGA supporting Trump, it's a huge percentage. But even if you lose 5%, that's enough to swing an election like a midterm, like a Senate, the House. Do not underestimate these people. We're getting it from both the right and the left. I want to point one other last thing out.
But hang on. So is he supposed to fold because there's a few MAGA folks that are very outspoken? Even if they're influential people, there's a lot of people out there saying, bravo, President Trump, too. I mean, he's not doing it. I don't think he looked at polls whatsoever, at least not when he started, for sure, on this, Robert, because I truly believe, and I know President Trump, I believe he said this is the right thing to do. Here's a moment to take out the worst regime in the world. We have intel also. They got a gift that they had intel where these 40-meter, folks would be meeting and they could take a massive hit that changed the course of history. So I don't think at the moment he thought, oh, this will be good for Election Day or not for Election Day. I just think he thought it's good for the world. But you're kind of talking out of both sides, because on one hand, yeah, there are some of these MAGA voices, but it's still a small percentage, albeit some of them are very influential. But there are a lot of people looking at them that are MAGA, that can't believe what these people are saying, that they're just outraged and shocked and quite frankly disgusted what they're saying. And some of the things are crazy with all the, Israel conspiracy stuff. I think it's loony. I think some of it's really loony. And I think President Trump firmly believes it's the right thing to do. And that's the only reason he went in right now, because he really does want to have an opportunity to get rid of evil. And I say bravo, because how many other presidents sat back on their laurels and either appeased this regime or did nothing? And look where we are, Robert, right?
Well, Rita, look, like I said, Alexis Wilkins did the research, 13 tweets long, but I just want to point out one other thing. The Save America Act. These Republicans in the Senate, they know they need to do a standing filibuster. They're refusing to do the Save America Act to do what's necessary. President Trump, on around March 8th, he posted that if they don't pass the Save America Act, he's not going to sign any other bills. Now, they have FISA coming up, the reauthorization of FISA. I do not want President Trump signing FISA if the Save America Act is not included or not passed. And none of this story about reconciliation, because Representative Anna Paulina Luna already said that the way to get it through, if they're not going to do the standing filibuster, they have to get it through the Save America Act. Reconciliation will not work. It'll be knocked out by the parliamentarian. So the Save America Act, no FISA. First of all, I'm very mixed feelings about FISA. But if you're going to redo the FISA, then you have to at least get the Save America Act. Shame on these Republicans, because they're a very bunch of fake frauds and phonies.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Listen, there are a number of kind of rhinos in the batch there, Robert. There's no doubt about it. They got to get their acts together, and they got to figure out a way to make it work. The problem is the votes are not there. I mean, that's what they keep telling the president. The votes are not there. Maybe they can find some creative way, because I believe he is on a noble mission. And voter integrity and having a photo ID shouldn't be a trick question. You need a photo ID if you get on a plane. You need a photo ID if you rent a book. If you're borrowing a book at the library, you need a photo ID. But to vote? Heck no. And you know what's so scary, Robert? I also firmly believe the Democrats are going through such unbelievable, blowback about this. And also all this stuff about, condemning Iran. They were blowing back against that. They also stood in, during the State of the Union. And when Trump said, will you put Americans above immigrants? And they wouldn't stand on that. It makes me wonder, what are they up to, especially if they get control of the White House? If we thought it was a free-for-all on the southern border under Joe Biden, it may look like tiddlywinks. I mean, that is really scary. And I don't know if America could ever recover. It's already having a tough time after the Biden years. I can't imagine if it got much worse. Robert, thank you very much. Some great points. And I'm going to look up and see what Alexis Wilkins is also putting out there, because that sounds very interesting. 1-800-848-9222. And we will continue, everybody, after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Whether you bond over streaming binge-worthy videos, watching sports recaps, video gaming, or by unplugging altogether, the 2026 Lincoln Nautilus Hybrid helps keep you connected throughout your journey. Learn more at Lincoln.com. Available connectivity features and functionality vary by model. Package pricing, trials, and term lengths vary by model. Video streaming and games are only available while parked.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And coming up in the next hour, we'll continue talking about Iran and the vitriol from Democrats. Also, Larry Krasner, the Philadelphia DA. No wonder those crazy people felt it was okay to be screaming that they want to see U.S. soldiers in a casket. I mean, how completely disgusting. But they're there near City Hall. I guess they feel emboldened in Philly because the Philadelphia DA also was blasting ICE agents. And he was saying that if they commit crimes, he'll arrest them. So who determines if they commit a crime? Larry Krasner, this guy? We'll talk about that. And then also earlier, we were talking with Tom Homan, the border czar. We're going to play Tom's reactions because we got a chance to ask him about Larry Krasner and these crazy comments from Hakeem Jeffries and so many others. And Tom Homan has some great classic Tom Homan, no-nonsense answers. That's why we love him so much. And we'll also talk about what's going on in Chicago. I cannot believe the student newspaper apologizing. I mean, that's just, for calling the killer an illegal immigrant. They were not so worried about, I guess, what they said about the victim. But God forbid we offend the murderer who was an illegal criminal migrant and now charged with murder. By the way, I always read your tweets. Here is Sal. Sal says, Rita, concerning the murder of Sheridan Gorman, who is there in Chicago, nowadays it's the victim's fault for being the victim, not the criminal's fault for being a criminal. Just ask Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, and that Chicago alderwoman. By the way, she did finally apologize, that alderwoman, guys, saying she didn't mean to offend the victim or the victim's family. And she obviously feels terrible if she meant to offend the victim. Well, sorry, if you sit there and you blame the victim and you essentially say that wrong place, wrong time, how else are we supposed to interpret it? And that crazy Chicago alderwoman also said that maybe those individuals, maybe they startled that nice man with a gun who happened to be there at the same time. It was the most ridiculous comment. And she's only apologizing now because she got so much public heat. We're going to talk about that and more. And Iran.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?